Okay, we call to order the October 9th Transportation Committee meeting. We're going to ask John Cagnalotti to say the invocation.
And the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, we ask your guidance in these proceedings tonight that we may do the will of the people of Ascension Parish. We ask you to bless the public safety officials, emergency responders, and law enforcement people who protect us day to day. Thank you for the military who defend our freedom that we so often take for granted. Bless the people of Ascension Parish in all that we do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A little bit out of order, but roll call. Randy Clouard is not here at the moment, but he will be momentarily. And once again, we're joined by our chairman, Bill Dawson. If you'd like to make a comment, please fill out a card and bring it to Madam Secretary, and she will bring it up to me. 3 minutes to speak. Number 4, committee chairman's report. I've got nothing to add to this. Move on. Number 5, acceptance of the minutes of the September 11th, 2017 meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion by Taracasso, a second by Councilman Cagnalotti. Any objection? Any discussion? None. So approved. Number 6, approval of engineer selection committee meeting recommendations, request for qualifications, professional engineering design, and related services in support of Louisiana Highway 3127 Extension Engineering Design Services, project number ENG-17-013. Darylyn.
Good evening. On September 12, 2017, the Purchasing Department received 10 proposals for the LA Highway 3127 Extension Engineering Design Services 30% design. After review, the Ascension Parish Government Professional Engineering Selection Committee recommends accepting the highest scoring proposal submitted by T. Baker Smith and to authorize the parish president to enter into contract negotiations and to place this project on the Parish Council agenda for the October 19, 2017 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Cazzo, a second by Councilman Cagnalotti. Do we have any discussion? Councilman Dawson.
I wanted to talk maybe to Mr. Enlow about the contract itself. It was my appreciation when we went out for this. Number one, this is being funded from monies outside really the Move Ascension project. This is being funded through the CF rebate money that we have on the West Bank.
Yes, sir.
And what we wanted here is just enough engineering to do the right-of-way acquisition. So I see in the RFQ that we have 30% engineering. I have no idea what that means, but I know that we don't want to end up here spending the limited amount of money that we have on engineering when we don't have any right-of-way.
Yes, sir. What we plan on doing is meeting with Dr. Calavoda at DOTD and coming to a understanding of what we're going to provide with this contract. And so we'll be doing that before
In order for them to acquire the right-of-way? Is that what you're saying?
Well, we're gonna meet with Dr. Calavoda to see what DOTD is going to take over this project at some point and hopefully build it within the near term. So we're going to talk to them about, we're going to talk to them about the right of way is going to be determined after we get into the design at some point. So
all I'm saying is that I don't think the 30% number is what I had in mind or Oliver had in mind. What we had in mind is enough engineering to do the right of way acquisition.
that's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay. Any objections? None. So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 7, department report. Mike Enlow.
Okay, good evening. I'll go ahead and I have the Move Ascension update by Agent TB, but before that, I want to go through the task orders and what we've been up to give you guys an idea. For the CDCs, we're calling them Engineering Contract Design Consultants. We've gotten 5 of the 6 task orders out on the immediate action projects. And what I mean by got out is we've given them notice to proceed, and they've started working on 5 of the 6. We have one more remaining to negotiate. We plan on doing that this week, and that's on the third component of Roddy Road safety widening. So you have in front of you, I think you got this packet quite a few days ago, and those are the task orders we've gotten out to date. So Jeff with H&TB has been doing a pretty good job, and excited about this work. So with that, I'd like to get Jeff up here to give an update on the rest of the Move Ascension program.
Jeff first, thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and council members. Before you have a briefing here about the Move Ascension. I'd like to give you an update on it. And there's a lot of information here, so I'll hit a lot of the high points, and we can certainly drill down on any one that you may have a question on. As Mike just said, that we've already executed all of the 11 master contracts for the CDCs, the contract design consultants. We have also executed 6 task orders. 5 of the 6 immediate action projects have been executed, and a 7th has actually been executed for several intersection traffic analyses, and I'll hit on a briefing on that in just a minute. You can find also in your packet, attachment A is actually a list of all of the immediate action projects, as well as what we call in phase 2 of the Move Ascension program. I'll go ahead and touch a little bit on some of the actual individual project status. There are several segments along Roddy that we're doing safety widenings. The first one is from US 61 to 935. The consultant on that is Shred Kirkendall Associates. And the scope of it is to do a safety widening for about 1.3 miles of road. There's 2 rivers at Bayou Narcisse and New River that crosses, so some bridge improvements and/or replacements. And based on a study of a corridor analysis that DOTD conducted through Arcadis, it recommended at all of the major intersections certain improvements, adding turn lanes at several of the approaches. So we're implementing those recommendations based on that analysis in here. So you'll see here at 429 and also at 935 on several of the approaches, we have some intersection improvements. They're currently performing survey and utility investigations. They should be wrapping that up middle to the latter part of next month. They're actually currently ahead of schedule, so I'm hoping to beat that timeline. They're going to begin on the geotechnical soil borings next week, and they've begun design. The next segment is to continuation going north on Roddy from 935 to 621. T. Baker Smith is the design consultant on that, and the scope of that is, again, the safety widening of about 1.5 miles of roadway and a bridge over Black Bayou, rather. Again, you'll see at 934 and 621 various improvements at the intersections on some of those approaches. They're currently performing survey services and utility investigations. They're actually going to be complete this week, which actually ahead of schedule by a couple of weeks. The field geotechnical roadway borings are complete, and lab work's going to commence here soon, and the design phase is set to begin next week. And if we keep this ahead of schedule pace, by the time they submit the 6% preliminaries on the total schedule, we'll be about a month ahead of schedule. The third one is 929 and Parker Roundabout. Bucart Horn is the consultant, and we're taking a four-way stop control intersection and putting in a roundabout for better optimization of the operational flow through that intersection. They're going to begin surveying and utility investigations next week. The geotech will follow soon after. They've actually already started on their conceptual design as required in the roundabout regulations to gain DOTD and FHWA early approvals for the design and, of course, any environmental clearances. And the reason that we're having to go through that step because DOTD has dedicated $1 million to contribute to this project. And then, of course, I'm sure some of y'all are very aware of the pipeline crossings at both 929 and Parker. We're dealing with 3 there in particular, 2 with Shell and 1 with Marathon. So we're going to re-engage those companies early so that we can talk about, what's going to be required from there and to sign any kind of agreements as far as utility relocations, casings, things of that nature. The next one is a Henry Road safety widening, which is widening about 1.5 miles of road from LA 73 to Tillerson roadway. The consultant on that particular project is Glenn Shaheen Associates. It will also replace a very small bridge over Muddy Creek with a box culvert for better flow in that area. They've already begun surveying and utility investigation. The geotech work is actually complete in the field, and the lab work should wrap up this week. And then design will start shortly afterwards. We have St. Landry to Ashland connector. That's also been executed. Consultant is Volkert. It's a new two-lane roadway connecting St. Landry and Ashland, very similar to the new Edenbourne connector that was just opened. And then we'll have the appropriate turn lanes at the two connection points. They actually began surveying last Monday actually, and the utility investigation and borings will begin here in the next week or two. As Mike mentioned, there's a third segment of widening on Roddy from 931 to 933. That's SJB Group has been assigned that, and that is the only outstanding one not to be executed. It's complete, and we're hoping to wrap up that and execute it this week. I mentioned about some traffic analyses that have been assigned to Neil Schaefer. That is on 6 various different intersection locations, all part of the Phase 2 projects, but all requiring traffic analyses as they're on state routes to define what are we going to do at those locations so they can be appropriately evaluated and prioritized, as well as because a lot of them are on state routes, DOTD has to get involved and approve if we decide to elect to, whether it's turn lanes, signalization, or we go in with a roundabout, for example, at LE 74 in Bluff. So we're getting all that upfront information. We've actually been coordinating with DOTD on that. I met with Chris Ewing, a district traffic operations engineer, and so we're working in concert with that. And those are the ones that we've executed as far as the immediate actions and the traffic study. We're also engaged on right-of-way acquisition already. We were given a task order on 28 September to engage our subconsultant, GCR, for right-of-way acquisition services on these 2 specific projects, the Roddy Church Point Roundabout and the Babin Road Off-System Bridge Project. Now, these are through the DOTD system, but through a cooperative endeavor agreement, the parish is obligated to acquire the right-of-way and relocate any existing utilities. And, of course, any differences in construction costs would be the parish's responsibility as well. So on the roundabout, we're in the final plan phase, although it's been sitting on shelves, so they need to be updated significantly. But DOT is going to contribute $1 million towards this project. So, and then the Babin Road, DOT is going to fund, once the utilities are relocated and right-of-way is acquired, 100% of the construction and construction inspection, and that's valued at approximately $500,000. Talking about DOT investments, moving on to item 4 in your packet. To date this year, just in 2017, DOT has let over $119 million in Ascension Parish, with 3 more to go before the end of the calendar year, for a total 2017 investment of just over $122 million here in Ascension Parish. I know Mike's going to hit on this in his briefing, so I really won't touch on the overlay program other than mention that 4 have been complete with a little minor dress work to be done. And then, the assignment of the next few to come. Ongoing activities. We continue to coordinate with DOTD and CRPC, trying to leverage any of the programs and/or federal dollars we can capture with anything that they're doing in conjunction with Move Ascension, particularly on the Phase 2 projects, that if we get some of the early upfront pre-construction efforts done, we'll be in a position to leverage getting federal dollars for right-of-way acquisition and construction with them. And we just met actually last Wednesday with CRPC on our call to project submittals, providing additional information and working with them to hopefully we're granted some of those in the process. We met with the steering committee previously about a month ago and rolled out an initial program schedule and budget for the program. But what we're doing now, and since our last meeting, is really going in and refining and updating that now that we have actual executed task orders. So we have a little bit better data to go ahead and roll that up. And in concert with that, we're developing a financial tracking system and a spreadsheet similar to what we've done with other programs, so that not just for this year, but we can programmatically look out in the future years, the money's coming in and the money's going out. And then we can also track where specifically the money's being spent, whether it's right-of-way acquisition, design, construction, and how much of that overall budget. Upcoming events, and simultaneously while we're doing these other things mentioned, we're developing and drafting and writing manuals, manuals. And you'll see the 6 areas we have here that we're developing to run the program and to leave as a deliverable for after this program that the parish, if it so chooses, can continue to use in its transportation efforts, how to manage programs and projects and get them through the system. Setting up a framework for document control. We've engaged our environmental sub, ELOS. They're doing some field reconnaissance now, and we'll begin engaging the Corps shortly to begin to identify requirements of core permitting and possibly any mitigation that may occur on the new connector. We're going to be meeting shortly and holding and facilitating a utility summit with all of the affected utilities to bring them up to speed, identify what is move ascension, what is it going to mean to those utilities, we'll talk about timelines and procedures for them to relocate, and what kind of level plans they're going to get, and in what timelines we're going to need them to move out of the right-of-way. So we're going to be doing that early and doing that often. Some action items are really more just FYI, that some future task orders are going to be required, and we're going to be setting up some steering committee meetings to go through that well in advance. And this is more here for the future. I just wanted to give it out, 'cause I want to look 6-9 months out and just kind of keep y'all prepared on things that might be upcoming. But the most important thing is engaging now, where it's been more quarterly. We want to engage the steering committee a lot more often, keep y'all informed, early, often, both the administration and members of this committee as well. As far as move ascension, that's all I had. But I do have a small little update on the master plan. Y'all are aware that we've completed the data collection portion and the transportation needs. We're currently on pause. We've held all our stakeholder meetings, and at our last administration steering committee meeting, we were asked to augment the scope once we go off pause to add a more sophisticated modeling system to conduct a few public meetings and a little bit more interaction on interim reports, interim meetings, things like that. And so as we are on pause, we also stand at the ready to return to action on that component at the direction of the administration and, of course, this committee. And with that, that's all I had, and I'm absolutely more than pleased to answer any questions y'all may have.
Councilman Cagliari, I'll start from that end, work on down.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jeff, appreciate your report. Move Ascension is obviously moving forward rapidly. We're glad to hear that. But in your experience, your vast experience, having worked for DOTD for many years, the timeline between an RFQ going out, okay, and then work beginning, what's the typical timeline for a state project?
It's not soon enough, I will tell you that, and there's been much frustration at the chief engineer, secretary's level, at the department, and there still is. There needs to be some streamlining effects. But I can give you an example, is that there was a committee formed by the chief engineer, and I was on that committee to help streamline contractual processes. And I was telling the story a little earlier that you would not believe that it used to be 3 to 4 months before a job was awarded to a consultant by the secretary after all the grading was done, and they had an executed contract. It had slipped to between 6 and 8 months by the time I left the department. And that is just, and the secretary, the chief engineer, and a lot of the manager there, that's unacceptable. And I know they're working hard. They've put together a task force to look at streamlining that process. And I think in comparison, I would have to say that, Mike, his staff, in conjunction with the efforts that we've put forward, I would think that we've quite surpassed that as far as, timelines, what we've done in a handful of weeks. And, in the last 2 months, I would say, is all 11 master contracts executed, and 6 of the 7, and the 7th will be done this week, task orders under those masters executed. And like you said, you see the list of actual, field work being performed. And that's not to disparage or put down, 24 years with the department, love it, but they do have issues in their contracting department, and I know they're working hard to resolve those.
Well, that's the point I was making, is to let the public know that we are moving forward.
Yes, sir.
Rapidly, and we're getting things accomplished in record pace, would you say? As far as getting
Quickly.
the contracts in place, awarding them, and getting work started.
I don't know if y'all have driven up Roddy recently. That's actually just some pictures in your packets.
With the stakes.
There's a bunch of orange and lime green vests out there running around like ants, surveying and doing utility investigations. So you'll notice a couple of drill rigs from some of the geotech operations that's in your packet as well, some of those pictures.
Very good. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Lambert.
Yeah, a couple of questions. First one is on 933 widening to 931. We took over that state highway a couple of years back, and the road was up to par. Matter of fact, the state went in and refurbished it. It's not the same width. It has to be widened as of what the rest of the widening project is?
Well, it's not consistent with the rest of what Roddy Corridor will be.
Because I know
given-
it's a brand-new road, is what I'm saying. We just, when we took it over from the state, not more than, 3 or 4 years ago, the state resurfaced it up to par, and then the parish took that road over on a swap out.
Right, it was resurfaced. It's not 12-foot lanes. There are no shoulders, and all of the ditches do not meet any kind of criteria for clear zone or recoverability. Now, we'll say that there was a section, that's a 2-mile section from Duval going north up to 933 is the worst. That is,
What do you plan on doing with the big ditches? They got large ditches right off
they
the
have
road.
large, steep ditches with no recoverable effort.
Yeah.
They're inside the clear zone.
I brought
There are
that
no
attention, I
shoulders.
brought that attention to the administration when we took over that road, but it was a done deal, pretty much. So I was just curious I seen it here on a widening project. Just want to see what the plans were.
Yes.
Another thing, you said some improvements on the intersections on Roddy. What kind of improvements? I live on Roddy, and that's a lot of my district. I'm getting calls already. What are you gonna do with them? Turn lanes, roundabouts?
No roundabouts.
No roundabouts?
On this stretch. There will be turn lanes, both left and right, on the specific approaches that you'll notice, and they're different on each of these segments in your packet. For example, just on the segment from 931 to 621, a left turn lane at 934 on the eastbound, northbound, and southbound approaches, adding left turn lanes. And then on 621 in Roddy, left turn lanes added on every approach, and then southbound, a right turn lane.
I guess the next big question, we are moving fast, we're ahead of schedule and everything, but right-of-way. Right-of-way has been an issue for us, buying it, because we don't have quick take, so we have to negotiate with the homeowners on right-of-way.
Yes, sir.
How do you see that taking place? Because I think that we still had a right-of-way issue at Church Point and by, Roddy right there for the roundabout. That was still a problem there with the,
Right.
one of the right-of-ways there.
Even though that's not one of the move ascensions, we are been tasked with acquiring the right-of-way and coordinating, relocating those utilities. We were just tasked with that, and our subconsultant, GCR, is working on that now. As far as the right-of-way for the other immediate move ascensions projects, we'll be coming to y'all soon, because we will have to get started on that quickly here in preliminary plans to do the title research reports so that you could do the appraisals, the packages of compensation to even negotiate, and following, federal acquisition processes. Because you have to take the 3 Roddy segments alone in the immediate action projects. There might be close to 300 parcels on there. To do the title research reports alone are going to take months. So that's one of the things you see on the action items that we'll be meeting with the steering committee here shortly on, is to address that issue, because right-of-way and relocating those utilities are absolutely the critical path to
definitely.
getting these under construction.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilman Cazza? Councilwoman Cazza?
Thank you so much for this report.
Yes, ma'am.
It's detailed. It helps us tremendously to be able to follow this. I'm pleased to see that we are ahead of schedule. I do share everyone else's concern about right-of-way, and I hope that we can move as quickly as possible to accomplish that. So I encourage you to continue to encourage your sub on that.
Absolutely, yes,
timely.
ma'am.
I look forward to hearing what the secondary projects are and looking at some kind of priority for those
Okay.
in the second one. So I'll look forward to that in the near future, please. And so that we can get early starts on those.
I agree completely, yes, ma'am.
I don't see any specific, I don't have any specific question right now with regard to any of these, but I thank you very much for this.
Well, I'm certainly available to any of y'all at any time if you have questions that you think of later or another date, or can come meet with small groups or individually as you wish.
Certainly, you all have been most helpful.
Councilman Dawson.
Thank you. I agree. Also, a great report, and, you know, I think we've finally seen something here that we can chew into a little bit. So I do appreciate that. I have a few maybe more detailed type questions. I'll just kind of go down the list. We had talked about syncing the lights or doing some kind of intelligent synchronization, especially on US 61. And I don't, you know, I'm just wondering, is that still on a list somewhere, or how's that evaluated?
Yes, sir. Actually, we're looking at that very hard. It is on the Phase B list, and at one time was contemplated being added to the Neil Schaefer original task order. But we did want to come and present possibly to the steering committee and to this committee what we have found out. I've met with DOTD, and they're willing to partner with us on the effort and the cost associated with timing and synchronization of the 19 signalized intersections between Perkins Road and LA 30. And so they're willing to do this. I mean, this is something, the synchronization could be done within months.
Right.
And so we wanted to present that to you. And if directed to do so, we would augment Neil Schaefer's contract and move forward.
Great.
But we
You
have
make that
those
motion,
details.
Bill, I'll
I've worked them out with DOTD, and we are at the ready to go, given direction by this committee and administration.
So
I'll
if you,
make that-
are you
I'll
looking
make
for
that motion.
Councilwoman Casso and
Is that going to be paid for by the state or cost sharing?
There will be some cost sharing. The fee, the augmented fee to Neil Schaefer's contract will be $64,000.
so we have a motion and a second.
We have a motion.
So we have a motion by Councilwoman Cazzo and a second.
I'll second that.
We've got multiple seconds, but I'll go with Councilman Dawson on this. Any discussion? Yes, Parish President.
And when it's finished, Mr. Ewan said he would implement it ASAP, didn't he?
He said as soon as the study was done and their portion of the work, that they would implement it right away, yes.
So this is, tell me again the length of this?
From Perkins Road to LA 30. And there are 19 separate signalized intersections in that length to be analyzed and coordinated.
So this would be done in coordination, or is Baton Rouge also doing any of their portion?
To my knowledge, I don't know what Baton Rouge is doing as far as their portion of Airline Highway. I will certainly contact them.
Because
to find
I
out.
read something recently that they were looking at synchronization of airline themselves. So I'm just, you know, love to get this, I'd love to get this done from 30 to Perkins, but I would hate to see our people have to stop at 30 because.
Well, in my conversations with Chris Ewing with the department, he did say that some of his staff are looking at intersections in East Baton Rouge Parish. How far they're going, and in conjunction with the city of Baton Rouge, that I don't know.
So I'd also like
We'll
to
ask.
make sure that this is some type of intelligent synchronization. So, I mean, and by that I mean, let's just don't have some timers here going off.
Correct.
Okay. Did we need to vote? I have a few more questions if you'll get.
Well, I'm going to move forward on this motion first.
Yeah.
Do we have any objection to this? No objection, so moved. Councilman Dawson, continue your inquisition.
Thank you. We also had, I had Highway 44, we had this little 900-foot section really in between Conway and I-10. And I was wondering if that is in anything here, or do you know I thought we had handed this to Move Ascension, Michael?
There, you know, it's pretty complicated. I wish it wasn't, but H&TB is ready to track that sort of thing.
Okay.
And with Jeff's contacts, I think it's fairly easy. From my understanding, it's still not, it's not a project just yet. It's still in the stage 0 phase, maybe environmental. Jeff, you aware of anything that's moved on it?
There's the roundabout, the Loose-Moore roundabout.
Well, I'm not talking about the Loose-Moore roundabout.
No, I know.
So
I'm going to
okay.
talk about the entire 44 corridor.
Okay.
That is being done by DOT in-house right now. I understand the area you're talking about where the two developments are just putting in, right out auxiliary lanes and not through lanes. The department now has contracted out and are about to wrap up, and the time period I'm being given is by the middle of next month, the report will be finalized, the entire corridor, looking at making those through lanes and the addition of 8 roundabouts throughout that entire corridor. And so they've talked to us and they've pledged to give us a copy of that report as soon as it's done. So I'm hoping that we'll be a lot closer to a answer on that, or what kind of scope the department is looking at, so that maybe that we can interject ourselves in that process as well, hopefully by next meeting, and if not, shortly thereafter.
Well, I've seen this, the 8 or 20 roundabouts, I don't know what it was, it's a paper stretch from here to Todd over there, but
Right.
there's no funding for that. And so, I want us to be careful that we don't get off here chasing this thing that there's no funding on, and we leave this 900 feet section of road where we go from 4-lane down to 2-lane for 900 feet, then back up to 4-lane for the rest of the way. It's just a unnecessary bottleneck.
Agreed.
So,
We,
I'd appreciate you guys following up if you don't mind on that.
I'll reach out to Chris Ewing and see where we're at with that, and whenever that study does come out, have another discussion with him about what areas we need to partake in. As far as
Especially
that-
this 900 feet
The 900
section.
feet.
And, quite honestly, I'm hearing from the residents in that area that there are some that are opposed to the roundabout not being put at Loosemore, further south than that, and they're actually, asking for a light in place of that. But that's something we can talk about. I'd hate to see us go and have this road out of service for a long time to put these other items in here and leave this bottleneck of 900 feet.
I do agree with that.
Okay. I guess the next thing, relative to the intersection improvements that everybody else was talking about, do we know what the improvement on those intersections is gonna be? I'm talking about the grade improvement. So when we have all these intersection improvements that we're doing on Roddy, do we know that these intersections are going from Bs to Cs or Ds to what?
Level of service?
Yes, level of service.
I have the entire corridor traffic analysis. I do not have that with me, but, and I don't remember the specific intersections, but on average, they are actually improving from an F to a C.
Okay, so, we have that information, and I suspected that we did. I'd like to see that made known. These are the improvements that we're making here, and that kind of gets into my next question, which is the webpage. Where's the webpage?
I'm working on it, and I'll have something, we'll have it, something ready by next week. We've got all the contracts signed.
And what is something, Mike?
Well, I have all the information on the website
Okay.
pertinent to these projects.
So, that'd be a great place. It's a great place for us to let people know, here's why we're doing this. We're going from a, whatever you use, D to a B, or, yeah.
And if you could add that to our report, that would be helpful.
I certainly will do that.
I hate to dominate all this, but I want, while I have a chance, the St. Landry right-of-way, Mr. President, do we have that, or has that been agreed on, the right-of-way for the St. Landry connector?
We don't have the paper, all the agreements are in, we're just waiting for them to decide what they want to do with their tax,
Okay,
I'll give them a shout tomorrow, but all agreements are there except for the way they want their tax deal,
okay.
okay?
Kind of promised this is the last one, but the exchange program kind of bumped my memory a little bit, so I thought there was going to be some type of evaluation as a part of this, that there were going to be some recommendations on us getting additional credits for some of the exchanging some roads. Is that part of your task? Or?
Yes, it is, and
Okay.
we have been working on that simultaneously. Number one priority is we're getting these task orders executed, and the design consultants underway out in the field doing the preliminary work. But simultaneously, we have been evaluating that and have a preliminary run-through, but we don't have anything we feel comfortable yet recommending as a final recommendation to this committee and the administration as far as to approach DOTD. We absolutely want to take these roads into the system. We will be coming to you with that.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I have a couple questions myself, which other people have already touched on. Once again, one of the benefits of going last. The public information, though, I'm really excited to see a webpage get out there, because I know I get a lot of calls, a lot of emails about it. Hey, where do we stand on things? So if we can get that out there, it would help us out, but I think it would really allow the public to know how much we're doing. You know, I can see that we're really moving forward. We've got a lot of projects going on out there, but the public doesn't see that yet. So if we can make that a priority, that'd be fantastic. Two other questions. I noticed that the light signalization was, I don't want to say surprisingly inexpensive, but $64,000 really perked my ears, because it seems like that could be a huge benefit for a corridor of an airline highway that runs all the way through the parish. Are there any other areas that can benefit from light signalization in the parish?
Well,
Or is that something y'all could look at? You don't have to tell me off the top of your
no,
head.
I'll tell you one specifically that when we were, I want to say negotiating for a more of a cost sharing or splitting of the work effort for the airline, the DOTD approached and said, well, if Ascension is willing to help with that, would they also be willing to help with synchronizing the lights on LA1 just in the city limits of Donaldsonville? And so that's something they're interested in. They said they would implement it, but they're not going to share the cost or share the work effort. So that would be another $60,000 to do that effort as well, or 65, excuse me, I don't have my figure in front of me. But, you know, that wasn't as pressing for us to move forward with, I thought, as the airline throughout the entire parish. So, you know, we were going to do some further analysis on how that ranked as far as priority, because while it may benefit and show a little something on the West Bank, you know, we are working with limited dollars, and we want to make sure that we recommend, I think, the most beneficial from a cost benefit of how much it's going to benefit the parish and the infrastructure itself.
I'm going to yield the floor to Councilwoman Cassa.
Certainly, we could consider that with Highway 73.
With Highway 73? Okay.
There's so many lights, and we're, I'm sure, many years away from any kind of effective modification to 73. Am I right back there? Yeah, I know. We can't get a study finished, let alone get a solution. So, you know, my folks need relief, and we have, with Chris Ewing's remarkable help over the years, some time, those what Bill said it, I can't remember what he called them, those timed intersections. But it certainly isn't any kind of intelligent.
Right, right.
But now, my old brain's at a loss for the word. It is not as good as it needs to be.
Right. Well, I can certainly approach the department about 73 as well, you know, and even recommend other possibilities and see and bring to y'all's attention and see which ones you would like me to go back to the department. And,
Highway 30 if we're looking.
Yeah. You know, let's look at them all.
Why does the parish have to pay? Seem like the state, being it's on a state highway, would synchronize their own lights.
Yes, sir. And we certainly wouldn't have to do the Donaldsonville one.
You know, we're
And
talking
they
about
may-
60,000
they may
here,
do that.
60,000 here. It seemed like, you know, we pay a tax, state tax, just like we do on the parish roads,
sir.
you know, and that's part of transportation. And maybe we need to get our legislators to step up and get this taking place, you know.
I will.
I'm just here and listening to every one of the roads we mentioned with state highways. And, you know,
Right. Well, and I will tell you that they are looking at several spot intersection timing improvements. Also looking at functionality, whether you'd have right ins and rights out and different things like that. For example, they're looking at a massive one at 44 and airline configuration change. But they're going to study that, and you know they'll get to, I think, a few of the intersections a long time with the other 8 parishes in District 61. So this was more of a corridor approach, and that they were willing to partner with us, do half of the work effort, pay for the implementation themselves, if the department would provide, if the parish would provide some sense of some analyses from Neil Schaefer.
That's a federal, 61 is a federal.
Federal, yeah.
I'm all about having skin in the game. I mean, we will put some skin in the game if that moves this along.
Yes, ma'am. And what, you know, and the timeline we're talking about is, you know, timeline to do the whole corridor in the parish, or just on the state piecemealing it, I mean, you're years away, and by that time, what they did last year is not synced up to what they just did, whereas this is something that can happen in a handful of months.
We'll hold you to that.
Yeah.
We'll hold you to that, yeah.
I forgot to say off the record on the timeline.
You, Chris Ewing, and Sean Wilson. We'll hold
There you
on.
go.
There you go, yes, ma'am.
I just think it's an excellent opportunity for, I know it's a lot of money, 60,000 here, 60,000 there, but to make some serious improvements in traffic, that people travel every single day. 60,000 here, 60,000 there. A lot of money, but I tell you what, you look at the people in the parish, they've been going through this for years. And to see us make these improvements that they're going to feel within a couple of months, I think they'd appreciate that. The last thing I was going to ask about is the master plan update. Because one of the things that I've seen when I drive along Highway 44, I've noticed that people are building, there's a developer right now building a house where eventually Highway 44 is going to be widened to 4 lanes. And will this master plan, if we get this moving again, give us the, I guess, the ability to say, okay, this is where we're going to be widening highways, to either acquire that land or get the right-of-way that we need for that, to help prevent this sort of thing? Because it's only going to cost us more money if we wait.
That's correct. And what it's going to look at is what are the future plans of Ascension, DOTD, and any of the other stakeholders as far as widening roadways, roadway improvements. Then it's going to look at population growth, the economic piece of this, where we look at making ordinances as far as where you can and can't build, zoning requirements. And then it's going to look at an overall parish-wide approach to, this would be the most benefit to widen these roads first, to take relief off of X and Y, so then you can spend your preservation dollars elsewhere and widening dollars. So where it talks about widening, then I think we want to get out ahead and start preserving the corridor from a right-of-way standpoint. Because as you said, next thing you know, a new subdivision comes in and the prices go up. So it will take that more of a holistic approach like that.
Okay, I'd like to talk to the administration at, maybe before the next meeting about getting the master plan up and running again, and see what that will take and see where we can go with that. But do we have any more questions for Jeff? I concur with everybody that said great report. It's informative and accurate. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you.
You said
Mike.
And accurate or inaccurate?
And accurate, unlike you. Do you have anything else to add, Mike?
No, I can just go through and finish out. I wanted to make a correction on the department updates that you guys have in front of you. The task order number 6, as you're aware, we get these reports done, try to do about a week in advance. So this was supposed to be issued today. It is not. The task order number 6 for SJB Group will be issued sometime this week. Moving down, the future asphalt overlay funding scenarios. Last meeting, we talked with CRPC about this, and they gave us a timeline of 3 to 6 months. We've called them back and asked if they can speed that process up and help us out. We're getting quite a few calls every week with people wanting to know when their road can get fixed or overlaid or reconstructed. So we've got a lot of roads and not a lot of money to repair and maintain them. So we're having to come up with different ways and figure out how to budget this for long-term 5-10-year plans. So that's ongoing. We've still got some internal organization going on just process flows and things of that nature. I'll move into the parish projects. As you are all aware, the St. Landry Edenbourne connector is finished. We are scheduling a final inspection. The signs are up, and I rode that when I got back in town. Rode it Friday morning. It looks good. There was some capping done on West Edenbourne Parkway near the RPCC. That road deteriorated pretty bad and had a lot of reclaim on it, and it was in bad shape if any of you had driven it. So we capped that just to make it a safer road condition. And I think the road turned out very well, the new connector. Move through to the maintenance program. We're on the contractor to finish up the incidental work on the first task order. It's not a typo. This is ongoing since last month. They've, I guess, had some weather delays, but we're also we're going to start stepping on them pretty hard here to get that done so we can issue the second task order. The bid opening for the 2018 road maintenance program will be on 10/17. The DOTD projects are listed out. I can go through these one at a time if you wish, or just answer any questions on them.
Does anybody have any questions?
I will, I don't want to interrupt, but
Go ahead.
the Highway 42 widening, I saw some Barber Brothers trucks out there laying out some survey stakes last week. So it looks like that's started, and that's a good thing, so.
Good.
Anything else? Any other questions on any bid
Any
projects?
questions?
I think Councilwoman Casso, the I-10 widening from Highland Road to 73 is design build, and I think that's going to start in January. So I think that's going to help 73 out quite a bit.
Excellent. Well, in a couple of years, when they finish it.
But it's a design delivery process, so it'll be a lot quicker, so.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, I would like to say that I think Alan Bros Group went out and did a road, Sweet Magnolia, and did a great job with that. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it was a floor light road that was, you tried to ride a bike on it. It was impossible because I tried. Seriously. You couldn't ride a bike on it. It was that bad, especially small wheels for a little kid or something. They went out and fixed that. They did a great job with it. So their crew's doing a good job.
I've seen some of their work, and they do, for the machines they have, they do a good job. Alan runs a good crew out there, so.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else to add? President.
If you check out the soccer field, they just finished blacktopping the road in. You know, Cajun did a good job with the limestone, but the road in and the handicap and all that was done by Alan's crew. Did a great job.
Yep, I saw that Friday. It looks great. Okay, anything else to add, Mike?
That's it for my report.
Okay, great. Moving on to number 7. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. We had a speaker on number 7. I thought it was number 9. Jeff Pettit, would you like to come speak? When I looked at it closer, I realized number 9 was the adjournment. I didn't think you'd want to speak on that, and I realized it must be a 7.
Good evening. My question, I guess, to Mike and the administration and this committee is the overlay road rehabilitation program. That's a budgeted item with a list of projects. It's done every year, and any change to it must come before this committee and full council as a budget amendment. Now, we just, the parish just did some work inside the city limits of Gonzales on Edenborn Parkway. And Kyle Gautreaux was quoted in the Gonzales Weekly Citizen, and I know Kyle's not here, but he quoted it to Greg Fisher, the editor, that funds were secured, they were state-appropriated funds. My question is, what state-appropriated funds? What funds were they? Did this come out of our, the money to pay for that work inside the city limits? Did that come out of our overlay road rehabilitation fund that requires, it's a budgeted item, it requires a budget amendment to spend that money? Did that happen? Or did the city pay for it? Okay. Who paid for it? How much did it cost? And why are parish workers doing work inside the city limits of Gonzales? That should be a city responsibility. I spoke to Barney Arsenault this morning. Barney told me they should be opening bids to tear up and redo Edenborn Parkway from the city limits all the way back to 44 this week. And it should start within 30 days. Why the rush? Why spend money twice? And if in fact we did spend parish dollars, why are we spending parish dollars inside the municipal limits of the city of Gonzales? Those are my questions. And it does look good, though. But is it the wisest use of our limited funds, as Mike just said? We have limited funds. Is it the best use? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Parish President.
We were requested by letter to help with the road from the RPCC. They had so big of holes that somebody was going to tear up their car. Now, we use money from the transportation fund that we get from the state, and we do help. We're getting ready to get with Sorrento. We do some things in Downsville from time to time. But on this project, we're going to get, they are redoing this road. We're going to get back more reclaim than we spent on the road itself. That's an agreement we have with the mayor. You know, so from time to time, we do, we used to do like a road a year in each city, but the funds have been cut down. I think we have like $750,000 this year that we do a portion of it in each one of the cities. So that's what's going on with that. But we getting, just on the reclaim alone, we getting back our money on that. And it was requested because the holes got bigger and bigger. Now, we didn't build that road, and we're not responsible for that road, but we did make the holes bigger, let's say, with that those dirt dump trucks and such.
Okay.
So anyway, that's where we're at.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to number 8. Number 8, Resolution 2017 to 2019 Priority for Off-Road System Bridge Replacement Certification Program Renewal. Mike Enlow.
Yep. This is something that we cost share with the state, our off-system bridges.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Lambert and a second by Councilman Cagnolati. Any discussion? No. Any objection? No. So moved. Moving on to number 9, adjournment.
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by Councilman Cagnolati and a second by Councilman Lambert. Thank you all very much.